Hello. All right, we are Friday, 1 o'clock, December the 8th, which is crazy because that means that it's Christmas in a couple of weeks and it is the new year in a few weeks, which is amazing, but also crazy that this year has gone by as fast as it has. It is also one of the reasons that I wanted to hop on today to talk about the subject, which is assessing adrenal fatigue, whether or not this is something that you really have, that you're going through, how to even know what to look for. This is not something that when you go to your family doctor, you're going to be able to say to your doctor, can you let me know if I have adrenal fatigue? Is there a blood test that you can run or a test that you can do? They won't have any idea, for the most part, what you're talking about or any way to assess what's actually going on. So I wanted to share today one of the assessment tools that I use in my practice. This is one that I use more specifically with a lot of the women who go through the hormone project, and I will either send this to them to fill out or I will ask it to them verbally in our private consultation. It just depends on who I am working with. And this is a tool that I don't necessarily use this for everyone. Who I would use this for would be the individual that is feeling really overwhelmed, that their life is running them. They have no time in the day for themselves, that they are being pulled in multiple directions. They've got some anxiety that might be presenting itself. They feel like they are doing everything right, but they still don't have the sleep that they're looking for, the energy that they're looking for. Their body's not recovering from their workouts. Their motivation is down. So this is kind of a quiz or a questionnaire that I will take them through for them to be able to really assess on their own how they're feeling and what's going on. It doesn't always serve us if we constantly show up to a practitioner or to somebody else to always ask, to get their opinion, to get their permission, all of that. So when you can answer this for yourself, and I hope you have pen and paper nearby because you are going to need to write these down, and more importantly, you're going to need to write your answers down. This will help to illuminate for you what could be going on. And then I'm going to give you some 3 tips, strategy tips in your life to help to repair and recover your adrenal fatigue if that's in fact what you have going on. So how we're going to do this is I'm going to take you through, there are 39 questions, okay, that I'm going to take you through that are lifestyle based. And you are going to answer either never, weekly, daily, or several times a day. Some of these may have a different response in there, so it's really important that as I ask the questions that you write down what your response is. So the first question is anxiety. Do you suffer from any level of anxiety? Never, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, or several times a day. So anxiety can be something that is situational. So it could be in a social setting, it could be at work, it could be things that's going on at home with your family, it could be around your body and your health. So never, or weekly, or daily, or several times a day. Write down for you next to anxiety what your response would be. The second thing that you want to take a look at is muscular weakness. Do you have a difficult time with endurance and stamina and strength overall? Is your recovery time really low? Meaning every time you try to start to work out or change up your workouts or go a little bit more intense, you start to feel like you're getting sick, or your muscles are really sore, or you just don't have the stamina to even get through what the workout is that you're trying to create for yourself. Does that never happen to you? Does that happen weekly? Does that happen daily? And does it happen several times a day? So the several times a day wouldn't be specific to exercise. It would be like you clean your house and you are exhausted. You're trying to do any little task that requires muscular effort and you just don't have it in you. Are you somebody, so this is the third question, are you somebody that is always picking at your skin or your fingernails or biting your fingernails? Do you constantly have to be like, you know, you're doing this, you're fidgeting? Do you maybe twirl your hair all the time? There's like a habit that you have adapted, which is one of your coping mechanisms to when you have stress. You can tell, you look at people's nails, and if they're all chewed up and their cuticles are all torn up, that's a big indication that they probably have a level of anxiety. And that's one of the ways that they are micromanaging it for themselves. So the answer for that would be, does that never happen to you? Weekly, do you maybe catch yourself doing that? Does it happen daily or several times a day? Like, are people always saying to you, get your hands out of your mouth? Why are you biting your nails? Or why are you picking at your nails? Heartburn. Nobody that I've ever talked to when we talk about adrenal fatigue and health recognizes that heartburn, reflux, gastroesophageal reflux disorder, GERD, a big indicator when we're talking about what's going on with our adrenal health and our nervous system, how well we are responding to or adapting to the stress that is happening to us or around us in our life. So do you suffer from heartburn? If it's never, then you write down never next to the question. If it's weekly, daily, or several times a day, you indicate and write that down. Depression. Anxiety and depression are not the same thing. So anxiety is something that we can walk around with. Depression we can as well too. But anxiety shows up more in that like anxiousness. You're always anticipating. Your energy is usually quite high. Your shoulders are up by your ears. The pace of your languaging is very fast. Anxiety is this like can never stop. Go, 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 go. Depression can sometimes be disguised as anxiety at the beginning, but oftentimes depression is the opposite. You have no energy. You don't want to get up and do anything. You cry at the drop of a hat. Your emotions can swing to also getting pissed off really quickly. You really would rather just stay at home and not be around anybody or do anything. You look around your life and see all these wonderful things, your family, your children, your job, your home, and you wonder, what do I have to be depressed about? How often does that happen to you? Write that down next to depression. Poor sleep. Do you actually get good rest? Are you able to fall asleep well? Do you stay asleep throughout the night, or are you waking often? Or do you find it very difficult to get up in the morning? Do you sleep throughout the entire night, but you still don't actually feel rested and refreshed when you wake up? This is a big indication of there being stress going on with the adrenals and not being able to regulate in the most important hours of the day when your body really requires that rest. And sleep is the thing that we all just are like, it's not important. I'll trade my sleep in for staying out later, for watching more TV, for getting more things done around the house, for catching up with my spouse, whatever it may be. And that is probably one of the biggest mistakes that we are making, is we are not putting enough energy and potency into that sleep requirement that our bodies all need. Frequent urination. Are you peeing often? Do you have a difficult time going a long period of time or holding your urine in? If you constantly have to pee, we'll say things like, well, I've got a tiny bladder, or for moms, if we've been pregnant or have carried children, we'll say that's the reason why. If this happens situationally, like you've been jumping on a trampoline, you've been bouncing around, you've been doing something that is contributing to that, that probably is part of the picture. But if you just have to go to the bathroom all the time, it's like that nervous behavior. That could be something else that we're taking a look into. So you could ask yourself, does that never happen to you? Doesn't apply. Does that happen weekly, or does it happen based in certain environments, certain surroundings? For instance, if you have to do public speaking, do you have to go to the bathroom more often? If you've got a big presentation that you have to do you have to go to the bathroom more often? Or is this something where you're like, Jen, it doesn't matter if I'm staying home alone for the day or if I have to be out, I'm constantly having to run to the bathroom. You need to indicate that for yourself and to write that down. Do you hear yourself sigh frequently? Just walking around doing your thing and you're just like, this is a marker for me. When I hear myself sighing and I can recognize that, I'm just like, okay, what do I need to take check of? What's going on? Like, and this is, my husband will know as well too. Jen, you are sighing like every third breath. What are you stressing out about? So does that happen to you? Never? Does it happen to you weekly? Does it happen to you daily, or nonstop throughout the day? Is somebody else mentioning to you, or you can feel for yourself that you are sighing all the time? Are you a fidgeter? Do you have to have something in your hands all the time? Do you have to have a cigarette all the time? Do you have to be chewing gum all the time? Do you constantly have to have coffee in your hand? What do you do that helps to keep you distracted and helps to keep you stimulated? Can you sit still? When you're in yoga class, do you have to do this with your hands? Do you have to move your toes when you're in Shavasana? Can you actually just be still? Or are you that person that constantly has to be in motion? Does this never happen to you? Does this happen to you sometimes? Does this happen to you every day? Does this happen to you multiple times in a day? Do your allergies get worse? Having a high level of allergies, whether it's food sensitivities and allergies, environmental sensitivities and allergies, chemicals, toxins, whatever it may be. If you find that these things are getting worse over time, your body is less and less able to manage these. You can't even walk near the aisle that has all of the chemical forms of laundry detergents like Tide and Sunlight and the Febreze and all of the Glade plugins and all of that stuff, that you have a big reaction. Your food is getting more and more slim pickings because your digestive system is more sensitive. If you've started to notice over the years that your sensitivity to those types of things are increasing, that your level of allergies are increasing, again, this is a sign that the immune system is suffering, your resiliency is down, and the adrenals are connected to that picture. Do you find it hard to concentrate? Right? Like, there'll be people who will come onto this. They're going to pop in, and if within about 90 seconds they don't feel like they're hearing exactly what they want to hear, or the opposite happens where something's pinpointed that is about them, they're going to be like, fuck, I'm off. Our attention's not there. If it doesn't grab us, and this has become something really bad in our society, where we are swipers, and if something doesn't get our attention really, really quickly, we can't concentrate on it. We can't stay on it. We're looking for the next best thing. We're looking for the next thing that's going to give us satisfaction right away. When you have a task you have to get accomplished, can you stay focused and get it done? Or are you all over the place? Does this happen to you never? Like, you're like, nope, I'm good. I have great concentration. Does it happen to you sometimes, like weekly? Does it happen to you every time, every day that you try and approach anything that you're doing? You see this in your children. We refer to it in school now as the inability to self-regulate. Do you recognize that behavior pattern in yourself? Do you have a difficult time staying on task and concentrating? Does someone have to repeat things to you over and over again for you to actually hear it? What about blurred vision? When you are tired and exhausted, one of two questions I want to ask you. The first one is, do you become light sensitive? Meaning, even on a day where it's not super sunny outside, the sun might not even be out, it could be cloudy, you still need to have sunglasses, and you depend on your sunglasses. You're closing blinds, you're really, really sensitive. If you're looking down at your computer and doing work for a period of time, or you sit for a period of time and then you stand back up, do you have that vision where you get kind of stars? Do you see maybe floaters, they're referred to as, it's moving across the eyes? This is something really important to pay attention to, because if you do suffer from adrenal fatigue, you probably also suffer from lower blood pressure, and the two are connected. How about headaches? How many of you suffer from headaches regularly? If you don't, and it's never, then put that down. Do you get headaches weekly? Do you get tension headaches that are based on being in a certain environment, a certain energy that's around you? Toxins might be a part of that. Do you have headaches every single day? Are you the type of person where you really don't know the last time that you made it through a day without having a headache? And headaches and migraines are different. Migraines, for those of you who have had them, they are horrible. They will get you into bed. They will have, you can't have any light around you. But headaches can be that dull, persistent achiness that lives either at the base of the neck, at the occipitus, or lives behind the eyes or across the forehead. That's more what I'm talking about here with the adrenal picture. Your blood pressure, I already touched on this. Is it too low or is it too high? So those extremes. Typically, if you have adrenal fatigue, you're going to have lower blood pressure, and you will notice that you see stars often. If you go from sitting to standing quickly, you need to take a minute. If you go from lying to sitting to standing, all that, you've got to take a second. So that's something to really pay attention to and make a note into your questions. Is that something that happens often? Does it happen all the time, or does that not apply to you at all? How about your irritability? Does it take a little bit to piss you off, or does it take a lot? Like, what's your threshold with that? Does everybody piss you off? You'll find there are people in your lives where if they don't have something to complain about, they don't have anything to talk about. Their Facebook status is negative and they're complaining. The news they want to catch up on is negative and complaining. What they want to chat with you about is negative and complaining. They just are attracted to that. If you find yourself, you can start off in a positive conversation and you start to just simply look for the negative things of that, that's a big indication that your coping mechanisms are down as well too. So ask yourself, how often am I experiencing that level of irritability? What about fatigue? So fatigue where you are good for a period of time and then you crash and you feel like you need a stimulus. So you need to have caffeine. You need to go and get an energy drink. Please never drink energy drinks. Rockstar, Monster, all of that crap. And please never let your children have any of this. It's a whole nother topic for another day, but please don't drink any of those energy drinks. Red Bull, that whole family of them. Stop. Do you need to have alcohol in order to wake back up? Do you need to have sugar in order to wake back up? If you're constantly looking for your next fix and that's the only way you know how to rebound out of that fatigue, that is something that you need to pay attention to as well. What about any jaw pain? Do you find that you have to remind yourself to unclench in your jaw and your teeth often? Are you grinding as well too? This is another way that we pack away that anxiety and those things that we're really, not dealing with or not being honest with ourselves about. You're going to figure out some place and space within your body to try to manage that. Facial swelling. Do you notice any patterning around the face where you're swelling in through the neck as well too? You feel like if you could just kind of stick a pin in those areas that it would just deflate and the swelling would start to decrease. Ask yourself, do you notice this often? This never applies to you, or sometimes depending on the lifestyle factors, on things you've eaten, that you've drank, how much sleep you've had, those types of things. What about your heart rate? Do you notice that your heart rate is rapid even when you're just sitting here right now listening? Okay. If you find that you always have a racing heart, this is indicative of anxiety, yes, but also indicative of having adrenals that are being squeezed a little bit too often. They are getting tired. Memory diminished. How is your memory? Do you have a difficult time not just concentrating, but being able to retain the information? Do you find yourself having brain fog often where you will be part of a conversation, you're looking at the person that's talking, you see their lips moving, you hear sound, but you are not actually able to listen to what they're saying and you don't retain any of the information? How many times do you have to go back and ask again? Or when you're learning new steps, do you have to remind yourself, how is your memory overall? Do you lose your keys all the time? Do you never know where your phone is? What about your level, or your relationship rather, with cold weather? Do you have an intolerance to cold weather? Are you cold all the time? Do you find that, right now we're in that transitionary period as we're heading into the winter months where it's windy and it's cooler? Does that just like rattle you to the bone? Do you feel sometimes like you can never get warm, you can't function, and it really affects you? That is something you want to pay attention to as well. Mid-body weight gain. So this would be around your waist. Really this here is around the waist, around the chest. You might notice this type of weight into the backs of the arms and into the face as well too. Is this like no concern to you? When you gain weight, it's not in this area. Do you have a little bit more weight maybe sitting around your waistline than you would like? Do you have significantly more, or is this something that you have been plagued with for a long time and just can't seem to manage? No matter how much exercise you do, no matter how much dieting you do, that this is the area your body is holding on to. Those adrenals are part of our whole stress response system in our body. So if your adrenals have been taxed and they are producing more cortisol, which is then in return creating more insulin being produced in your body, this cortisol insulin stress pattern and system happening within you is all the perfect storm in order to allow your body to produce and lay down more fat, and it is going to hang out around all of those vital organs. It thinks you are asking it to do this for a source of protection. It doesn't realize that you aren't in actual true real stress, that you don't need all of this extra backup and these extra energy reserves, that you actually are just at a place where you're quite unhappy about something and you've yet to work your way out of that. And we'll talk about that towards the end. The fatigue, when it hits you, is it mainly in the afternoon? Typically, most people say that they are most tired somewhere between like 1 and 4 p.m. They wish that they could take a nap. Culturally, if we look at that, there are many places around the world that do take a nap. They take a siesta. Between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. and 1 p.m. and 3 p.m., there is a circadian rhythm that's within us. There is a little bit of a reset. The liver is also an integral part of this as well, too. So how well the liver is functioning, how well we are metabolizing our hormones. Also, if you're trying to beat the fatigue in the afternoon, you have to ask yourself, how have you treated your body leading into the afternoon? Did you eat balanced and hydrate well in the morning? Did you take certain supplements that are helping to, bridge that gap and to build that foundation? Or did your day start off with coffee and then meet up with some sugar and then some more caffeine and empty calories, and now your body is just crashing and burning? So there's some discernment around that level of fatigue. What is actually creating it? Because fatigue doesn't just drop out of the sky, right? Like, it's a symptom. So we always have to peel back. What's the root cause? What was the impetus that created that sign or symptom that your body is now feeling and now expressing? Muscle cramps. Do you wake up with cramps in your calves or in your feet every night? When you try and do any new exercise, like if you're trying to do something new with your hamstrings, do they cramp automatically? Do you get muscle twitches? This is a sign as well too. And we were talking about muscle weakness and inability to recover from workouts or from any level of continual or strenuous movement. How well is your body managing that? This could be that you're deficient in minerals, which your adrenals depend a ton on those minerals. You could be dehydrated. There's some different things to look at, but paying attention and asking yourself, wait a second, like, do I suffer from muscle cramping? How often does that happen to me? This quiz, this questionnaire that I'm taking you through today, this is really just about actually elevating your awareness of what your body is communicating with you. This is where the change begins. Your awareness has to increase. Gas and bloating. Does this happen to you often? If never, that's great. Digestion is probably moving pretty smoothly. But if it happens weekly, if it happens daily, if you're like, I am gassy and bloated every single time I eat. In fact, I just think about eating and I get gassy and bloated. This is an area that you really need to pay attention to, because the root of all health begins within our gut and in our digestive system. And so if your digestive system is stressed, if you are constantly reacting with some type of inflammation, gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, pain, whatever it may be, your nervous system and your adrenals, which is your stress response team, is going to try to respond to that level of inflammation. So we don't start with the adrenal care first for the digestive system. We start with the digestive system, begin to take the load off of the adrenals. When I eat bread, I get bloated. Why is that? I did get tested for celiac disease, but the result was negative. Could I be sensitive to gluten? Pretty much every human being is sensitive to gluten and to wheat and to all of these modified grains that exist in our marketplace now. There is non-positive celiac as well. So you may have not tested positive for celiac disease because you don't have it to that severity, but you could most definitely still have a big intolerance to gluten. And how you would know that is that when you eat certain foods, you're in pain, you get bloated. So don't always look for a test to give you a benchmark or a result. We want to actually listen to your body. So you've said it. Every time I eat bread, I get bloated. I would recommend that you come off bread. I would even stay off gluten-free bread right now. I would just reduce the grains as much as possible, because it might not just be the gluten. It could be some of the lectins as well too, and the phytic acid that's what's in there. So pull your grains out for a period of time. The other thing is neck stiffness. How often are you stiff in the neck? This is another personal marker for me. I know if I have a lot going on, I'll get the jaw tension, I'll get tense the neck. And then all it takes literally is for me to turn my head too quickly to one side. And I get, when you kind of get like that zap, that level of discomfort, that's an indication you're so fucking wired up. Like your nervous system, that whole dural connection, the tone of your nervous system is rigid. It's like guitar strings. They could like snap at any moment. And that is oftentimes with this neck stiffness is a reflection of what's going on with our yeses and our nos in life, our calendar, our schedule, all of the overfull stuff that we are participating in. And when you notice something like this happening, this is an opportunity, yes, to get body work done with your chiropractor and your osteopath, acupuncture and all that. But more so than that, it is, all right, it's time to pull back. Doing too much. It's time to pull back. Irregular stools, we touched on this. Sensitivity to the bright lights. This was about, that blurred vision as well too. Do you always need the sunglasses? Okay. Try to test yourself and see, can you go on a dull day outside without having to put your sunglasses on? Do you get super cranky if your meals are delayed? So if you're going long periods of time without eating, I even mean like 3-4 hours. Like, are you that person where you say, if I don't eat every 2 hours, I am a monster. I'm beyond hangry. I'm not the best version of me. You need to pay attention to that, because that's not a great response, and that's not a great level of communication in our system. We have to help to teach and train our bodies to be able to go that period of time without eating, without feeling like everything is falling apart. That leads into the next question, which is, do you suffer from shaky hands? If you just hold your hands still, are they shaky all over the place? Do you literally feel like your body is vibrating? Do you feel like you are vibrating? Do you get overstimulated when you are in big groups of people? If there's too much noise, if there's too many things happening or going on at the same time, like there's the buzz of fluorescent lights, there's music that's on in the background, there's a ton of people that are talking, then there's somebody that's trying to engage in a conversation with you. Is that too much for you to manage? Are you just like, oh my gosh, I can't even concentrate in here? Are you one of those people that are really sensitive to that? Pay attention to that. What about joint pain? Do you suffer from a lot of joint pain and anywhere in your body? And this is something that, is this related to your type of movement or your lack of movement? You know, like, are you sitting in a chair for 9 hours a day? Are you maybe working out a bit too hard? Are you not warming up efficiently? Are your joints sore because you don't recover well from the workouts that you're doing? Are your joints sore because you never move them? There's no lubrication happening in those joints. Or are you just like, Jen, you know, I'm stretching, I'm doing yoga, I'm doing mobility work, I'm doing all these things, I feel like I'm eating healthy, and I still have these aching joints? Make a note of this for yourself. How much caffeine do you consume? Okay? If you are consuming caffeine, are you consuming it every day? Are you consuming it multiple times a day? Is this something that you have maybe just on a weekly basis? And how dependent are you on your coffee? Okay. And again, this is like, I don't even care if you're adding MCT oil or butter or collagen or fat or anything to it. The base of it is coffee, and that's really what you're after. So you have to be honest and ask yourself, how many am I having? And here's a big thing. Does it matter if you have a cup of coffee a day? Absolutely not. Why are you having the coffee? Is it because you love the experience, or is it because you're like, this is the thing that gets me out of bed? This is what actually signals to my body and to my brain and to my nervous system that the day is beginning. And I don't know if I would be able to manage not having my coffee. And then nausea. Do you get nauseous often? Do you find that if you get overwhelmed in certain situations that you instantly feel nauseous? Or is this nausea attached to what is going on with your low blood sugar, when you start to feel shaky, when you get hangry, that type of stuff? Do any of you ever feel that? Do you feel like if you don't eat for a certain period of time that you are just like, oh my gosh, I can't even think about doing anything else. I can't cope. I need to get food into my system. I'm going to give you guys a minute to answer there, and just give me some taps on the screen if that happens to you. Yeah, right? And that is not... that's not a good indication for our body. Like if you look back into prehistoric times, we never knew when we were getting food. The difference is now oftentimes we're filling up on things that are air. They don't actually have the nutrient density. So your body's getting the calories, your body's getting the flavor, all of that stuff, but your body's not actually getting nutrition. It's not getting the amount of, proper balance of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, fibers that it needs. It's not getting the right type of minerals, the phytonutrients. So your body is sending you out to either look for more, and we're over consuming, or what ends up happening is that your body is burning this food up really quickly because it's empty, and that's why it's requiring you to go back and to get more. So it is something to really be able to pay attention to. Okay, next question in here, salt cravings. If you are that person that's like, if sweets are around me, I might eat them, but I want salt. I want, salty chips. I want popcorn. I just like, you're constantly pouring the salt over your food. Never tastes like it has enough salt in it. Salt cravings are 100% connected to your adrenal function. Typically people who are at like 3rd and 4th stage adrenal fatigue, the salt is what they're craving. Salty, savory, those types of things, because the body is deficient in that. And that sodium potassium pump, it's not only integral to what's going on with the adrenals, but to the kidneys as well too. The kidney picture is something we delve deeper into within the Hormone Project, because the kidneys are part of how healthy that reproductive system is for us as women. So when the chi, the energy is low in the kidneys, oftentimes the adrenals will start to feel the stress and take that on. You'll be craving the salt. Your body is just trying to look for a way to create that level of repair. Do you crave heavy or fatty foods? So again, the sweet stuff, that's not what you're going for, but you want like cheese, which also has an opiate effect. It's why we love cheese so much. It's actually like creates a high for us. It's like our drug of choice. It gives us that fix. You want like fatty foods. You feel this after you drink alcohol, right? You don't wake up the next day and be like, oh, I could really go for like an egg white omelet and a kale salad. No, people are usually, they want bacon, they want fried eggs, they want, fast food. They want something that's like fatty and feels like it's going to hold them and satiate them. If you are constantly craving those types of foods, it may be either A, you don't have a good enough balance in your nutritional plan right now to be getting that on a daily basis, or it's that your body is so deficient that that is what it is trying to grab hold onto to help to ground you down. When you've got adrenal fatigue and it's in, a really acute state, you're like a helium balloon that is not rooted to anything. You're just like, let you go and you're just floating up and away. So your body will oftentimes get you to try to gravitate towards things that are going to create some weight in your system and get you and keep you closer to the ground so that you can come to a place where you can be like, okay, what the heck is going on? What do I need to shift and change? This is why it's so dangerous when you do have adrenal fatigue, when you do have high levels of anxiety, when you do have a lot of overwhelm, when you feel like your life is not in your own hands, when we keep turning to things like all the stimulation, the sugar, the processed foods, the caffeine, the alcohol, the cigarettes, all that additional stuff, saying yes to more and more and more. It just keeps filling that big helium balloon that is us, and it just keeps lifting us further and further away from the ground until we just get taken off and blown around somewhere else, and we just feel totally lost on how to get back to ourselves. Sugar cravings is the next question I ask people. We've talked about your salt cravings. We've talked about your savory, fatty food cravings. How is your sugar cravings? Are you a sugar burner? Do you realize how much sugar you consume in a day? Do you eat lots of fruit? Do you have lots of grains? Do you have lots of air snacks? Do you consume lots of bars? Do you always have to have some type of sweetness in everything you have, whether it's your coffee or your tea or your elixir? Every time you eat a meal, even if it's a really healthy one, do you have to go back and always have that little something sweet? Pay attention. Dehydration. How many of you are getting enough water in? How many of you as adults are getting at least 2 liters of water in? If you aren't getting enough hydration, your body, your fatigue is going to be increased, your recovery is going to be decreased. So you really have to pay attention to how well are you hydrating your system. More often than not, when we have cravings or when we are starving and famished, your body is actually thirsty. You just get confused, right? Because food is always a thing where we are rewarding ourselves and celebrating. But I would say to you that if you've eaten recently or you're finding this as a pattern, you need to start to move more towards how you can hydrate and support your body before you go right back to turning to the food. So that was all 13 questions that I will go through with certain clients that I'm working with who I suspect might have adrenal fatigue. Now, there are some women that come into my programs, into the Hormone Project. The Simplicity Project, we delve a little bit into the hormones, but the Hormone Project the whole thing is hormones. Oftentimes when I have a consultation with somebody, simply based on how they are describing to me how they're feeling every day, what their schedule is on their calendar, what they've got going on, I don't need to go through that full quiz or questionnaire. I'm really able to assess. If they are like burst into tears within a few minutes of the session and all of this just starts to spill out, I don't need to go through the questionnaire. Why I'm presenting this to you today is that far too often people are walking around going, oh, my adrenals are just shot, like I have adrenal fatigue. It's just adrenal fatigue. It's like, do you even know what that means? Like, is anybody even empowering you with the education around it? And if you have determined that you're suffering from adrenal fatigue, do you know what you're supposed to do to help to heal your body from that? Because the list is actually really short when it comes to healing the adrenals. And you're not going to find it at a health food store. Your first step, so here you go, here's the 3 steps towards healing your adrenals. And this is where some people might just actually log off because they're like, nope, too hard for me. What do you mean I can't just go buy it in a pill bottle and swallow it and have everything fixed? Not going to happen. And for a lot of you who have been chasing program and practitioner and steps and tips after tip after tip, there's nothing wrong with the recommendations you're being given. You just have yet to decide that you are ready to make the real changes that are actually going to make you feel better. So here are my 3 tips for you. Take them for what they're worth. If they resonate with you, amazing. If they don't resonate with you today, also amazing. They may not click and work for you for another 5 to 10 to 15 years, okay? We've all been there before. And I want you guys to all know when I'm giving you these tips too, I'm still working on this all the time. Okay, this is taking care of our bodies is a daily work in practice, but this is a gift. It is a gift that we get to get up every day and still take a full breath and have the ability to move our bodies. I mean, this is the first time in history that we have ever complained when someone has said to us that you need to eat healthy food. You know, healthy food is provided for somebody and they'll complain that there's too many vegetables on their plate. Like, it's ridiculous. And so we're going to wipe that slate clean and we're going to remind ourselves that we deserve every single day to be taking care of ourselves. So tip number 1, you need to take a look around at your environment. This is the first step. If you have goals to have more energy, to feel better, to be more positive in your own life, to decrease your stress and your overwhelm and your anxiety, to move your body more often, to eat healthier food, look around where you are right now. Is there anything you see around you that is going to remind you of that and feel like it is supporting that goal? Are you in a box where you have no natural light? Is there nothing inspiring around you, like inspirational words or colors that you love, or an essential oil that you could have on your desk? Do you even have healthy food that's with you? And if you didn't make it and bring it for yourself, do you have access to healthy food around you at work? Do you have water that's around you? Think about at home. When you walk into your home, do you feel calm or do you feel stressed? And I just am talking environment right now. I'm not talking about the people who live in the house. I mean, like when you sit down on your furniture and you look around your space, can you take a deep breath, or is this where all the sighing comes in and where you start to recognize all the things that you don't like around the environment you're in? What about your bedroom? If one of your goals is to get better sleep, how conducive is your sleep environment to getting that restful sleep? You know, do you have tons of electronics in your room? Are you up late watching television? Is your phone right next to your bed? Do you have chemical, Glade plugins and things like that that are around you that you're breathing in? Do you have the street lights coming through? What could you change in your sleep environment? Are you sleeping in too many clothes, right? You're overheating at night, which is stressing those adrenals, and it's waking you up in the middle of the night. Could you decrease that? What about in your car even? Can you create an inspiring environment in your car? Can you keep it clean? Can you put an essential oil spray in there? Can you listen to podcasts when you're driving? Your energy, the space you spend your time in, is it inspiring or is it negative? What about the people that are in your environment? Is that maybe one of the things that is weighing you down and bringing you down? Can you move away from that person? Can you shift your space? Can you take your breaks away from where everybody else is? Could you go for a walk on your lunch break? People negate the importance of what your environment and your space is. Again, my first tip to you is not to run to go and buy a supplement. My first tip to you is not to run to the gym and start to work out. My first tip to you is you got to get really real with where you are right now. What is your environment, where you work, where you live, where you sleep, where you play? Who are the people that are in your environment? Can you, for Christmas, maybe the things you ask for are some inspiring pieces of artwork that you have? What are the things you need to have in your space to remind you of why you are doing what you're doing? What is on your calendar? Like, what actually fills up your day timer? Are there things that bring you joy in there? Or every day when you look at the calendar, you're like, oh my God, how is this my life? There's nothing that I would be able to do working with you as a practitioner to help you feel better in terms of like, yes, can we get you eating healthier and creating a supplement base and exercising? Sure. But if still every day you open your day timer and you want to trade lives with someone else because you hate so much of what you are looking at, all the other stuff is just stuff. And the reality is you will end up going back to your old eating habits. You will end up going back to your lack of movement habits. You will stop taking the supplements. You will feel like you're wasting your money because at the end of the day, what's in this calendar is actually the big stuff. This is where the pivot starts to happen in your life and the actual level of care of taking care of those adrenals and healing you from the inside out. The second thing is understanding nutrition. So for me, everything is nutrition before supplementation. Giving you supplements doesn't make jack of a difference if you still aren't actually eating good quality whole food. So it's teaching you, you need to start your day with something really incredible. If you go to my Instagram page, you go to my Facebook page, I have lots of different things that are on there. We give lots of different recipes. You have to start your day off by nourishing yourself. You have to hydrate yourself. Do you have a great lunch in the middle of the day, or do you have a lunch that makes you feel bloated and gassy and like you need to have a nap afterwards? Do you bring a good blood sugar stabilizing snack in the afternoon? Do you have a healthy dinner most nights of the week? We're not always going to bang it out of the park every single night. It's not possible. Life happens. We have events and activities and things that are going on. Don't put so much pressure on yourself, but can you see some color on your plate at every meal? And then can you stop eating before you go to bed? Can you give your body at least a couple hours to just like, okay, thank you. This is going to process and digest not only what you ate today, but everything you felt and everything that you went through today, everything you were exposed to and that you were witness to. I'm going to allow you to do that before you go to bed so we don't take up so much space when we're supposed to be healing throughout our sleep. And then once we have that base, we can start to talk about some of the foundational supplements, right? Your vitamin D, your omega-3, your probiotics, your powerhouse whole foods, whether or not, for me, that's Juice Plus or a greens powder. That would be the type of thing I'd recommend. Are you getting magnesium before you go to sleep? If your stress is super elevated, I would love that you take a really good quality B complex or at least a sublingual B12. That's where I would start you. Then if I was working with you and you were like, Jen, I'm doing all of those things, I'm taking the base supplements, but I still feel like I need a little bit more support, then perhaps that's where we use something like holy basil or an adaptogenic herb or a blend to help to buffer and hug your adrenals right now until you know how to hug them yourself based on your yeses and your nos and your lifestyle choices. Essential oils are a big part of that as well too. Such a small little thing that we can do for such a big impact on how we can feel. And then the third tier, and probably the most important out of all of them, is I want to ask you all, how much rest are you getting? How much sleep do you provide yourself? But also, how much rest do you actually get? As an adult, we should all be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. You might be that person that's like, I feel so good on 4, 5, 6 hours sleep. You can only sustain that for so long. You might think up here intellectually that you're able to manage that, but I am telling you, your nervous system, your vital organs, that whole entire part of your body that is working to slow you down and to go in and do the detoxing daily and the buffering and the cleaning up and the repairing and the regenerating, it requires way more than that. How can we possibly think that we can spend 3/4 of our day grinding it out, hammering it out, doing everything to a certain intensity, going through negative emotions and happy emotions, maybe eating well, not eating well, being hydrated or not being hydrated, taking on the stress that our kids bring home, that our spouse brings home, the things that our friends and our family are going through, and then say to our body, now, out of all those things I've done in the day, I'm going to give you the smallest amount of time to buffer and repair me, but wake me up tomorrow with lots of energy. You do a good job for me, body. And we don't do that. And then we have the audacity to get pissed when our bodies start to shut down, when our bodies start to be in pain and inflammation, and we have anxiety and depression, and we're overwhelmed, and we get diagnosed with something. I'm telling you, you sit here and you're listening to me right now, you need to listen to you right now. There is a conversation happening inside of you right now as we all sit here. And that conversation is happening all the time. The biggest questions that you have for your health your vitality, your own well-being, mentally, physically, emotionally, and otherwise, they are within you. But if all you do is listen to everyone else, and you never stop, you never allow yourself the power of a pause to actually sit back and listen and reflect, you already know the answers. You know the things that make you the most happy and that don't. You know the things that give you the energy and that don't. You know the things that light you up and that weigh you down. So as I send you off into your weekend, I want it to be a light one, but I also want you to create a soul appointment and take the time to ask yourself, where do I need to kind of address what's going on in just these 3 areas? And I say just lightly. Your environment, that energy piece. What are you fueling your body with? And how much rest are you providing yourself? Even if the rest is just that right now, it's not sleep. You can't actually fall asleep earlier, or maybe you feel like you can't get more sleep. Can you just freaking lie down? Can you just be still? Okay? All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Yes, some of you are asking. I do. I have my mother-daughter hormone online webinar this Monday night at 8 p.m. You can watch from anywhere. You can go to the website or in my link to register for that. This is the one that I've been traveling around with and teaching. It is for ages 8 to 98. I take you through all the phases of what it's like being from the age of 8 to 11, going all the way through up into your teens, your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. It paints this beautiful picture. Your daughters are most definitely able to watch this, your husbands, your sons. I talk about the stuff we need to know and understand that we are not being taught. And I will tell you this, working with women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and 60s, the same way that I need to educate those women at that age of their life is the same way that I need to talk to the girls that are 8, 9, 10, and 11, because we should have learned all of this at that age. So we weren't surprised, we weren't shocked, we didn't go through pain, we didn't know how to manage our bodies. And these moms that I work with, they're in a state of such distress with their own physical body, and now they're seeing it show up in their girls, and they're like, how am I supposed to help her when I don't even know how to help me? And so this is why it has branched out beyond just working with grown women in the Hormone Project, and helping us with our children as well too. You got to give them more credit. They're ready for this information. I'm telling you, they want this information. The questions I get from these little girls, oh my God, they're just the best kids ever, and they really do want to know. It's not as scary to them as we think that it is. We've created this story around that it's going to freak them out, that they're going to get all nervous. No, I'm telling you, when we can teach our girls that being a girl is the most magical gift that was ever given to us, that our body literally gives us a report card every single month known as our cycle, and we have all these cool signs and symptoms that are within our toolbox of being a woman. We are literally Wonder Woman. Like, not the Marvel comic kind, we are literally Wonder Woman, and we can teach our youngest girls to vibrate and to function and to show up in life and in their bodies from this place. Sky's the limit. It's unbelievable. So clearly I'm very passionate about teaching this. So Monday night, this Monday, 8 p.m., you can register. You must register if you want to participate in it, and you will get a recording of it as well too. And then the next round of the actual Hormone Project starts at the end of January. And this time around, for all the moms who join me, I am giving you a session for your daughter as well too, because I want your whole family to benefit from this. So all that info can be found at jenpike.com or in my bio link on Instagram. And if you can't find it in any of those places, just direct message me. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope this shed some insight into those lovely adrenals of yours and gave you some awesome new soul tools to use as you move throughout the rest of the month. Take care.